Hello again, I am James Swanwick. It's so great to have you here. And today we're going to be talking about how to live a Superman life. Now, what is a Superman life? Well, I like to think of it as being able to be your best in health, in fitness, and in family. How to be a good father or a good mother. How to be a good husband or a wife or a friend or a colleague or an acquaintance. How to live a Superman life. And who better to give us his ideas on how to live a Superman life than someone who actually played Superman in a Hollywood movie, Brandon Routh. Mr. Brandon Routh, who played Superman in the 2006 Bryan Singer directed movie Superman Returns, which made almost $400 million at the box office. Brandon Routh, how are you, sir? Great to have you here.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here. And what was Superman like? Just before we get into, how you deal with your health and how you're a great father and how, fitness and all that. What was that experience like?
Amazing, surreal still to this moment. It's all-encompassing, life-changing experience that still every day I have kind of sometimes new epiphanies and things come out of it, new lessons learned, and it's the kind of a gift that keeps on giving because it really it's made a profound impact on my life, and then it also is important and special in different ways to other people and fans.
Yeah. So how did you get to that point? I just, for maybe our viewer or listener who's not that familiar with you personally, maybe you could just give us a quick 1-minute life summary, if you like where you were born and how you came to Los Angeles and were acting in some TV shows, and then how you got that role, and then, married life and being a father life. If you can, summarize it in a minute.
Well, I'm from Iowa. So the middle of the U.S. And I was an English major at the University of Iowa, going to be a writer. I kind of looked into acting and modeling as a poor college student to make money, which then led me to New York, to this bigger convention and place to meet acting and modeling agents. The modeling thing never really panned out, but the acting thing did. I met a manager, had me come to L.A., had small jobs, booked a soap opera, moved to New York, came back when that was done. And then about a year after that, this whole Superman thing started. And that's been, put me on the map ever since then.
Yeah. Is it kind of like Kevin Bacon talks about his role in Footloose? And I asked him, I interviewed him some years ago, and I said, are you sick of Footloose? Because everyone must talk to you about Footloose the whole time, and whenever you're at a party or a wedding, they must all put on the Footloose song and then look to Kevin Bacon and say, "Come on, dance like a trained monkey." And he said, "No, I love it. It's not the bane of my existence. I absolutely love it because people know me. It helped launch my career. It was a wonderful experience." Was it a similar experience to you, or do you sometimes go, "Oh man, Superman"?
Oh, no. I mean, it's been one of the biggest gifts of my life, and blessings and all of those things. I would certainly wouldn't be where I am in the house that I am, with the family that I am, in the position that I am without that. It's easy to look at the negative and to see the drawbacks of most situations we can find and fear and be afraid of kind of a lot of things in life, but this has certainly been just tremendous for me, and I would say similar to Kevin Bacon, in that respect. And it's a positive influence in people's life that I get to play, or that they have this movie and that can bring back their idea of Superman, and move that forward, the legend of Superman. And I mean, what an awesome thing to be remembered by, or even called from a distance. Superman. I mean, come on, that's you got to really be looking for something to hate if you're going to be upset about that.
Yeah. Well said. So we're talking to Brandon Routh. You can get him on Twitter at Brandon J. Routh. So if you're watching or listening to this, just send me a tweet at James Swanwick and at Brandon J. Routh. Just say listening to at Brandon J. Routh with at James Swanwick. And if you've got anything that you want to say to Brandon, just send him a tweet. So Brandon, let's talk about health. We're talking about how to live a Superman life, okay? So how to be the best that we can be in all areas. So we're talking health, fitness, family. So when it comes to health, I know we're going to talk a little bit about paleo, because I know that you and I have met a couple of times. You and I met at Dave Asprey's biohacking conference in Pasadena in September 2014, and we spoke very briefly there. But that conference was all about correct nutrition, and Dave Asprey himself is very big on the bulletproof diet, which we'll talk about. He's got a book out right now. And then we met again at up in the Hollywood Hills at a superhero party of Jim Quick, and Jim Quick has also been a guest of mine on the show here. He's a brain and memory expert, and it was at Jim's house that you and I spoke at length for about 45 minutes, all about your health and about how you got onto the bulletproof diet a year ago, and how that's had a profound impact on your life, and how you've actually incorporated it into your son's life, because you are married to a beautiful woman, Courtney, who I had the pleasure of meeting, and you have I think a 1-year-old son called Leo. Is that right?
A little over two.
A little over two now. Okay, great. And I know that you were talking about how you're very conscious of what, the diet, if you like, or the nutritional aspect of Leo's life. So just before we get into that, just take us back to pre-Superman, if you like, leading up to when you discovered paleo, and just tell me, what was your routine when it came to nutrition? How did it make you feel? What were the pros? What were the cons? And then what was the aha moment where you changed your dietary habits?
Yeah. Well, pre the paleo bulletproof shift, I thought I was doing a lot of things right. I was eating whole grains, mostly gluten-free, even though that wasn't something that I was meaning to do. But I was eating quinoa, buckwheat cereal, hot cereal, steel-cut oats. And I'd use a little bit, I put a little bit of fat in it, and I wasn't afraid of fat necessarily, but I would have that, a big bowl of that before workout, and pretty much every day, along with some organic chicken apple sausages. And that was pretty much my breakfast most mornings. And then I would, have a canned tuna and this great lentil soup that I really liked. That was, fairly healthy for lunches a lot of times, or shake, protein shakes, and dinner would be, similar to what I do now, but just the proteins weren't always as consciously chosen, and the way I cooked was differently, and the oils I was using to cook were not what I use now. So there were similarities, but one of the biggest things that came out was my carb intake has come down. A much higher fat intake, which is not necessarily a big paleo thing, although paleo is not afraid of fat and encourages fat. But on a bulletproof diet, definitely encourages more fat than most people are generally comfortable with, because we have the stigma about fat. And I've cut. Well, I'm jumping ahead, but talking about the diet. So those are a lot of things that have shifted.
So that
was pre.
Yeah,
that was only part of your question.
Yeah, well, just for the viewer or listener who's maybe not familiar with what the bulletproof diet is or what paleo is, I think it'd be pertinent if we just explained it, so we can create some context. So paleo is essentially eating lean meats and fish and vegetables and yams and pretty much nothing else. It's encouraging us to eat like our ancestors ate for thousands of years. Back when we were cavemen, we would hunt animals with rudimentary tools. We would eat the carcass, we'd eat the meat, we would eat fruits and vegetables. We didn't have mass agriculture back then, so we weren't eating things like wheat en masse. We weren't eating things like potatoes en masse. It was really just lean meats and vegetables. So the paleo diet very much encourages you today to eat steak, chicken, fish, eggs, nuts like almonds and walnuts, etc. And that's it. That's pretty much it. There's a few things there, like avocados, obviously, are good fats, and coconut oil and things like that. But no bread, no pasta, no rice, no refined sugars, no diet sodas, no sodas. And my experience, Brandon, was I discovered this. I was hosting SportsCenter on ESPN in 2010, and I met a friend of mine who told me about paleo. and said, just try it for a week. And I went, okay. So I tried it on a Monday, which is the first day I was of the week when I was presenting Sports Center. And by the fourth day, my mother actually phoned me and said, James, what's wrong with you? And I said, what? What are you talking about? She goes, you look sick. Is everything okay? You're so gaunt in the face. And literally in 4, maybe even 5 days, I dropped 7 pounds just like that, because I'd cut out the rice and the soda and the bread that I had been having with my meals ordinarily up until that point. That's how dramatic the shift can be. That's how quickly your body can change when you cut out those kind of foods.
It's pretty dramatic, and that's the harder for my money. That's the harder way to do it. So you went pretty cold turkey, because
I did. Yeah.
So paleo and bulletproof. Bulletproof, you would say, is a version of a paleo diet. Very much a lot of similarities, but there are some differences, or different things are stressed. I would say, and they're the issue I think a lot of people have with paleo is they make it too strict. Okay, so you want to be like too hardcore about, oh, this is only what the caveman. Well, that's how it kind of started out. That's the idea. That's to get you into it. But don't everyone. I love it. You see these quotes. Well, we don't live in a caveman society. Well, no, we don't. But come on, guys, we're just using this as an example. Okay, there are some people who take it to an extreme.
Yes.
But just take what's useful to you and use it. If you don't like it, if it's not useful, if you don't feel good, don't do it. A lot of people find that they have vast improvements in certain areas of life, whether it be health, emotional relationships, all this kind of stuff. Things start to clear up as you clean up your food for a lot of people. So the bulletproof version of a paleo diet encourages more really good fat intake. And for me, when I shifted, what it did for me is it really turned my brain on, because even though I was eating less carbs, which you think would make me tired or, lack fuel, lack energy, because we think of sugar and carbohydrates as energy, the fat was the substitute for that, and a much better form of fuel. Which there's a lot of upcoming research and anecdotal evidence. Some people want hard science. Well, the problem is that a lot of studies aren't done. They cost money. And, if you want hard science, you may have to wait 20 years till this is all proven. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people who don't want you to be eating this way, because then you stop eating their processed goods. So try it for yourself if you want to, explore and experiment. Anyway, more fat for me, really good fat, grass-fed ghee, butter, grass-fed meats turned my brain on. It's giving me so much more energy, enthusiasm for life, which I already had, but it just stepped everything up a notch. I dropped weight really easily without doing really any cardio, because I was dropping the carbohydrates, the thing that was making me hold on to weight. And it tasted good because I was eating, fat and butter on my vegetables. It's not a bad thing. It's pretty tasty, actually.
Yeah. So give us an example then of what you might have for breakfast on a normal day, what you might snack on, what you'd have for lunch, what you might snack on, what you'd have for dinner, what times you're doing this. And how that affects your energy levels, and et cetera throughout the day.
Generally, almost every morning for breakfast, I have bulletproof coffee, and that is bulletproof beans, coffee beans. I brew coffee, and then I add MCT oil, which is medium chain triglyceride oil, which is a concentrated coconut oil, with grass-fed ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, so it's butter that no longer has any dairy in it. So for people who have a dairy allergy, most of them can use ghee because there's no more allergen aspect to the butter. It's just pure butter fat. And I blend that together in a glass blender. It makes it kind of frothy and foamy, and it's delicious. And I'm still finishing some of it today in my cup, even though it's noon here. I kind of drink on it all day as long as I can. I thin it out with hot water and keep reheating it. And that gets me through, usually the first 4, 5, 6 hours of the day, depending on what I have to do. It's great for me for work when I have to go shoot something, because the work requirements are, sometimes I'm on set for 4 hours straight before I can go back to my trailer and get anything. So this helps me stay fueled and not lose my edge in a work environment. And then typically my second meal of the day will be a shake of some sort. I'm actually using a paleo protein right now, which is beef peptide protein. So it's grass-fed beef that's been turned into protein powder, and that sounds like really gross. But actually, you don't taste it at all. It tastes just like a chocolate shake. It's pretty good, and I get that through JJ Virgin, who's a great was my nutritionist during Superman.
That's JJ,
and it's a really good product. It's a vanilla and a chocolate one. I'll have that. If it's a post-workout, I add a little carbohydrates, so I don't eat a lot of fruit, but I'll add half a banana and some tahini or sunflower butter sometimes, or more coconut or cacao butter or avocado, frozen blueberries. Just put a lot of fat in it because you can drink it down really easily. And that fuels me for the next part of the day until dinner time, between 6 and 8 o'clock. And most often I'm having some type of red meat with that, or it's a fatty salmon, lamb. I don't eat a lot of pork. I do eat, because it's hard to find really good pork. Bacon is fantastic, but it's hard to find really quality bacon. And I will, if it's not organic, I won't even look at it most of the time. So I source very responsibly the food. I want a grass-fed, grass-finished beef, which is different than just grass-fed. Again, adding fat and veggies to the meal, and they turn out to be sometimes very simple meals, but very hearty and filling.
So it's interesting. I was just going to say, it's interesting that you're not really, when you wake up in the morning, you're not really actually chewing anything until 5 or 6 hours after you wake up. You're literally making a coffee. You're putting grass-fed butter or ghee in it. You're putting a little bit of the MCT oil in it, and you're drinking it. And I'm sorry?
Or a lot.
Yeah, there you go. And you're not actually, like, the traditional breakfast is you wake up and you break your fast. That's the word breakfast, right? And so people will have a bowl of cereal, or they'll reach for some eggs or some avocado, or they'll put something in their mouth that they can chew down, and that's food. But this bulletproof coffee actually fills you up, doesn't it? I know, because I've done it. And in fact, if you're watching and listening now and you want to check out these products, just go to jamesswanwick.com/bulletproof, and that'll take you through to a page where you can access some of Dave Asprey's bulletproof products. And if you're listening to this, there you go. And Brandon's just holding up the book there, The Bulletproof Diet by Dave Asprey. You can also grab that book if you go to jamesswanwick.com/bulletproof. And if you're in the US and you're on your cell phone right now, just text the word bulletproof to the number 38470, and I'll send you a text message back, and you can learn more about Dave Asprey's book and bulletproof coffee there as well.
Yeah, and here is my testimonial.
There you go. And Brandon's got a testimonial. What page are you in there, Brandon?
It's page 151.
Page 151 of the Bulletproof Diet book, Brandon.
Worth getting the book just to read that.
Yeah, exactly. Very clever. So it's interesting because, people are like, what, you don't eat until for 6 hours? You're starving yourself. So what's your response to that?
Oh, it's magic. I mean, it is astounding. It's astounding that I get up and I don't crave other food. I crave the coffee almost every day. It's like, I have my coffee, my bulletproof coffee, because I do it with 2 tablespoons of ghee and 2 tablespoons of brain octane, which brain octane is actually the higher grade version of the MCT oil. So that's about 500 calories. So I'm definitely getting sustenance. It's just not normally what you do. And I actually put some of the grass-fed collagen in my coffee as well. So I'm getting a little bit of protein. It's really mostly for my skin, but and then I take a branched chain amino acid. If any bodybuilders out there, or people who lift, that kind of, so even though I'm not really having protein, it kind of complements my body's need so that I don't.
There you go.
That's a good company.
I got some branch chain amino acids. My friend Ben Greenfield from Ben Greenfield, who I've also had on the show, put me onto this particular product, and I have that before a workout and a little bit after a workout as well.
Yeah, it really helps with muscle retention because I'm eating so much less protein than I ever did before. My trainer was really concerned about when I started talking about changing my eating to this, because although I do eat, I would say I definitely eat more red meat on a regular basis. I eat much less animal protein overall than I have since Superman. When I started getting more muscle mass and needing more protein to hold on to muscle mass, the general consensus is that you need more protein so that you don't break down the muscle fibers again. But eating more fat, keeping my body fueled throughout the day, my body doesn't tear down muscle because it's getting enough fuel. And even though I'm eating a lot less protein, and I supplement with the branch chains when I go too long without having some protein in.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I know this sounds crazy to some of our viewers and listeners. Eat more fat, which is
good fat.
But good fat, yeah, we need to clarify that. Eat more good fat. Let's just list off the good fat. Grass,
Okay.
anything that was grass-fed. So grass-fed butter, grass-fed steak, pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised eggs. Now, this is actually very interesting, Brandon, because I always used to think that pasteurized eggs meant that those chickens or chooks that lay the eggs were eating grass, but pasteurized actually just means that they were given the opportunity to go and walk around on grass, but they were actually still in cages in a barn and fed, stuff that wasn't grass. But pasture raised means that they literally ate grass and they ate things on the grass.
The popular phrase was cage free, right? For a long time, cage free eggs. Oh, cage free eggs, good for the. Well, it doesn't mean it means that they have like an inch worth of grass that they can. They're not in a cage. So all that kind of really means. But yes, pasture raised means they're out in the field, in the grass, whatever, able to eat the bugs and the little things that really make the fat that put the vitamins and minerals that are essential for us into the eggs. That's why they're deep orange color you get from pasture raised eggs.
Yeah. So it's not just because we want them to be happy chickens running around laying happy eggs. Not that because we work for Peter and we want to be great to animals. Of course we do. It's literally that the composition of the food that you put in your mouth changes drastically depending on if that chicken was walking around on grass eating the bugs versus sitting in a barn.
Isn't it a silly thing? Isn't it silly that we have to explain, even that I have to remind myself that it makes a difference what I ate? It's like, doesn't that it's just common sense, but we've totally taken that part out of the equation. We've just haven't even considered that because we've been, been consumers and we've been, whitewashed. We've been just enamored with advertising and the convenience of processed food and somebody else making it for us that we don't even consider the true quality of the food we have.
It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
The fact that
I even have to look in the egg section and try to find something that says pasture raised as opposed to pasteurized, one word, is insane. I mean, It is insane. But that's the world we live in today. So always be looking for grass-fed beef, grass-fed food,
grass-finished, and grass-finished. Ask if it's grass-finished as well, because grass-finished is the crucial part. Cattle and animals can be raised grass fed, but when they go to slaughter, they're not always continually fed grass at that point. So if they eat more than 30 days of grain, which is usually what happens at that point, then their whole fat matrix changes again, as if they were never grass fed. So their fat is still not as good for you even if they were grass fed. If they're not grass finished, eating grass for their entire life, then we're missing out.
Yeah.
They try to pull the wool over your eyes on that one. A lot of the bigger companies and people. So
yeah. All right, so let's move the conversation.
Sardines, fantastic. And so we're talking about fats, coconut oil. We said avocados,
walnuts, nuts, and almonds, raw, as long as they're not roasted, obviously.
Yeah, not roasted. Nuts with the exception of peanuts because they're pretty moldy.
Yeah,
pistachios are great, but can be very moldy. So there's a whole other thing to kind of worry about and think about. But I do a lot of pecans, walnuts, almonds are my kind of go-tos, and macadamias. We miss anything else for good fats there?
Coconut oil. I think we've covered it pretty much. Yeah. And also, here's the thing: when people look at you putting a big scoop of grass-fed butter in your coffee, and they go, "Oh my God, you're going to get so fat! Are you crazy?" Just point to your head and say, "I'm too smart. I'm too smart."
Oh, try it for yourself. You give yourself a couple days. Look, you're not going to immediately have a heart attack. I don't think from having, trying 3 days, this something like this. But I'm not a doctor, so
Yeah, well, I'm not a doctor either, but you and I have both tested this ourselves. I can tell you how much weight I lost in those 4 or 5 days on Sports Center. And it's not just about the weight, okay? I felt better. Like, I felt more energetic. And I have sustained that diet. Yes. And I've sustained it since July/August 2010. So it's been, it's coming up 5 years. Awesome. That I've been on this, and I feel infinitely better before. I mean, anyone would need to look at a photo. If you just Google my name, James Swanwick, and why I quit alcohol 4 years ago, a blog post will come up, and you will see a before and after photo. You'll see a photo of me when I was 28 pounds heavier, and you can see my face. Like, you can see the puffiness in my face. Now, that's not just from quitting alcohol. That's from quitting alcohol and from getting on this bulletproof diet, or rather, I didn't really get on the bulletproof until a year ago, but the paleo diet, if you like, that is cutting out all those kind of things. And since then, I've just felt so much more energetic. I go to the gym now. I've got muscles. I'm toned. I mean, I'm not super ripped like Brandon is here, Superman himself, but I'm healthy enough that I feel great, and then I've got lots of energy. I look great. When I look in the mirror, I go, yeah, that's how I'm supposed to look. It's not like a vanity project where I'm like, oh, I've got a little bit of fat here, and I better cut back here. And it's not that. It's just like, yeah, I'm healthy. I'm a healthy man. That's the way I'm supposed to look. That's the way God created me. I'm eating right. I'm exercising right. And I feel great. So you have to test it yourself. People will challenge you along the way. They will go, you are crazy. Or they'll say, yeah, but pasta's delicious. Or go on, just have one glass of Diet Coke. It's nothing. Blah blah blah. They'll do that all the time. Or they'll say, "Are you crazy? You're going to eat butter? You're literally going to put butter on your meal? You're literally going to put butter in your coffee? What's that oil? Oh my God, what are you doing?" People will say this, but again, as Brandon's saying, as I'm saying, just test it yourself. Make yourself the guinea pig. You're not going to die. And the only positives are going to come from this. Let's move on to fitness now, Brandon. We're talking to Brandon Routh, who is a Hollywood actor. He played Superman in the 2006 movie Superman Returns. He's fitness and exercise, Brandon. What do you do to stay fit? How has that changed over the years? What would you suggest for our viewer and listener watching now in terms of keeping a great fitness regime over the course of their life?
I would suggest a paleo bulletproof diet. Just because since 2004, when I started training for Superman Returns, I was on a vastly different food plan and workout regimen than I'm on now. And that shifted with new information that's come out in both fields and my own self-experimentation or biohacking, as Dave Asprey would say. So for me now, I'm at a place where I'm in a maintenance area, which is a great place to be. And so it's a little bit different. But eating the way I do now, as we've been talking about, makes it extremely easy. And as a result, when I started drinking bulletproof coffee and changing my diet, it wasn't necessarily to lose fat. I was intrigued by the idea that fat could be a fuel for us and demystifying the fears about fat. And I was interested in the energy aspect of it. And the byproduct was that I lost 25 pounds of excess that I was holding on to without doing any cardio other than the little bit that you would get from lifting heavy weights. Because part of the reason I went on to shift in my food was because I have had an issue with my knee and with arthritic knee and cartilage damage. So I was looking to food to help me heal that. So I've not been able to do cardio, running, walking. I mean, I can walk, but wasn't doing any of it. Just lifting heavy weights 2 to 3 times a week while changing my diet. And I dropped the weight. I've kept it off. And it's been pretty amazing. Now, I actually went on a strength training regime as well, where I wanted to test my strength while I was eating low carb, and my bench press numbers kept going up with eating this way. So for me, it's been profound. And I mean, I can't even say much more about that, except that, as with some of the misnomers about food, the misnomers about fitness are out there as well, that you need to be doing an hour of cardio, half hour, even 20 minutes of cardio, regular treadmill or stair climber is really not the best. You're not going to get the most bang for your buck. Strength training, and which means heavy weights, not tons of reps, but lower, just really making your body, challenging your body. And then also it's burst training. So that's kind of like what a CrossFit workout is, although maybe the CrossFit is a little bit too much exertion, because I know that, you guys, I don't have done CrossFit, but I've heard from a lot of people, they really maybe go a little too much of an extreme, because your body also needs to regenerate, needs time to heal.
The thing with CrossFit is the thing with CrossFit, it's not that it's too extreme. It's just that the body is not used to the particular exercises that, we throw ourselves into with those exercises. So I started CrossFit a couple of years ago, and started ferociously, and I injured myself in my shoulder. But that was more because I didn't stretch my shoulder appropriately, and I didn't ease my way into it. So there's actually nothing wrong with the CrossFit exercises, but there is something wrong as if you just go straight in at 100 miles an hour without.
Because the competition, you want to compete with everybody and.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a lot of the things you're doing in a group setting. So you are competing against people, and makes you want to go fast. So you have to really do some great functional mobility, stretching and training before each exercise, before each session. And also I would do it at least 3 or 4 weeks before you even start CrossFit. But anyway, that's another thing.
Yeah.
The point you're making there really is high intensity is vastly superior, and you will get so many more better results than if you're just doing that slow kind of cardio. I was in Sydney, Australia in December 2014, and there's a beautiful run from Bondi Beach to Bronte Beach, and it's takes about 25 minutes to run from Bondi to Bronte, and it hugs the coastline, and you're running along these cliffs, and it's just so picturesque and beautiful. And I was always struggling because I knew that just a slow, gentle jog, for 25 minutes there, 25 minutes back, wasn't really doing much for me physically, but spiritually it was doing a lot for me because I was looking out over the Pacific Ocean, and the sun was setting, and the air was so clear, and it was beautiful in summer. But you have to kind of balance that out, because I love going for a slow jog, 45-minute jog, an hour jog. I love it because it's relaxing. I get endorphins. It's nice. I get to think. But in terms of changing your physical composition, it's not really going to do much, is it, Brandon?
No, I mean, look, I'm no expert, but there are a lot of books and there's a lot of research talking about this idea that, the body needs to be challenged. When you want to gain muscle mass, you have to make it go beyond what it's capable of. You have to lift heavy weights to force the muscle tissues to break down and reconstruct. And same thing with challenges of your brain. That's how your brain grows too, is being challenged. So if you're never really challenging, you're just doing the slow, steady workout, you are burning calories, but you're not doing it as much as you think you are. And also you could be spending that hour doing something else. Now, if you're getting a spiritual meditation out of it, then there's no reason to shift what you're doing if you're getting something out of it. But, a lot of people do an hour of cardio, then you have spent that time, your body, the problem is they're doing this, and then they're also restricting calories. And so by making your body do work and then restricting calories, back to our paleo caveman days, the body is still genetically engineered to hold on to energy so that if a lion comes after you, you can get away. So if you restrict your calories and you just did a big workout, then you're basically actually kind of slowing your metabolism down, is what a lot of information is coming out and saying. So it's just a rethink of it, and don't take my word for it. There's plenty of stuff you can look at that can explain it much better than I can. But for me, I haven't had to do any cardio. A big shift in my diet. My body was functioning properly, and I just did the little things like lifting heavy weights and giving it a little bit of resistance, and I've had pretty great results. Now, when I can actually do some more of the actual burst training, that's going to it's going to make me shift even more into even more leanness, which is going to be my focus here in the next year as my knee and everything else is getting better, because I do have just a little bit more that I can do to get just a little bit more lean.
James Swanwick here. Just a quick interruption to share some of the relationship breakthroughs that folks have been having inside of our Project 90 Stop Drinking process. Joe Worley from Michigan says, my wife has the real Joe back. Andres from Minnesota says, I'm a better dad. Dave Kelly from Australia says, I feel so much more connected to friends, family, and colleagues. And Angela, also from Australia, says, I'm spending more time with my kids. So if improving your relationships is your motivation or one of your motivations for stopping drinking, and you would like some professional outside support, I invite you to go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90, watch the video, read some of the words on the page, learn about our process, and if it feels like it could be for you, you're welcome to schedule a free 15-minute complimentary call with one of our coaches. All right, let's get back to the episode.
So it's the biggest gains I've had, Brandon, have been when I've done high intensity, and sometimes I've done as little as a 7-minute workout. It sounds crazy, but at the end of those 7 minutes, I'm like I can't breathe. I'm in the fetal position on the floor almost, and I just feel my body change as a result of that. Even if you just did 10 100-meter sprints. And then sort of jogged back, and then sprinted, and then jogged back, and then sprinted, or even just walked back. That's going to give you more fat burning ability, and it's going to create more muscle mass, and it's going to get you lean and mean than if you did. And that took you, let's say 10 minutes. That's going to be vastly more superior to going for a 1-hour jog, or even even running a half marathon. So whatever you're doing in the gym, whatever you're doing with your exercise, always remember high intensity trumps all. High intensity trumps all.
And then give it a rest. Don't do it the next day. Give it at least a rest and get some good sleep, because your body needs to have the time to regenerate. Otherwise, you're just running on bare tires the whole time, and you're just never going to get better. You got to allow your body to regenerate and heal. And make sure you're eating afterward as well. I think it's something supposed to be within the 15 to 30 minutes after you work out. But at least muscle gaining is to have a good amount of protein. Not, doesn't have to be 80, 90 grams of protein, but, body mass dependent on your own body mass. Have some good source of protein, and maybe a little bit of carbohydrate as well. Seems to be important. That's what I do to help.
Okay.
Or the branch chain, so some branch chain, aminos in there.
We're talking to Brandon Routh. You can get him at Twitter at Brandon J Routh. That's BRANDONJ, as in the letter J, and then Routh, ROUTH. Send him a tweet right now. Say listening to at James Swanwick and at Brandon J Routh, and then just put in a little comment there, like, what did you learn from Brandon during this talk? What are you going to implement from Superman himself? How are you going to lead a Superman life? Brandon, let's move on now to family. You are a husband to Courtney. You're a father to Leo. Tell us a little bit about that process, if you like, of deciding to get married, of when you met Courtney, whether there was a transition from you as a man of maybe being, I don't know what your romantic life was, but a lot of men that listen to my show seem to struggle or have difficulties with going from single life, playing the field, if you like, to the idea of settling down with just one person, one woman, and moving into a more mature, more responsible life. Maybe they were a party animal when they were younger, and that transition was very, very harsh for them, and they didn't quite gel with it. Other people, it's a very easy transition. What was it like for you? Can you just explain, your single life leading up to the decision to meeting Courtney, to deciding to get married?
I'm much more fit into the group in the latter that you explained. That I was ready to get married from a very early age, I guess. Mature beyond my years and maybe too much. Kind of backtracking a little bit from there because I think I kind of thought I had the world figured out more than earlier than I really did. But so for me, it wasn't a challenge. It was something that I embraced. From kind of not from the moment I met her, but it was for me a life changing experience just from the first time that we met. I was bartending at Lucky Strike, which is a bowling alley lounge, kind of a hip bowling alley here in Los Angeles. One of the first ones that opened up. It was the first Lucky Strike.
Is that the one on Highland Avenue there in Hollywood?
Yep. So it was the first year it was opened, and I was worked the private bar for a private party that was coming in, and it was her brother's wedding rehearsal dinner after party. And so I met her and basically her whole family that day. And, I got her number. It was the only number I ever got that I asked for, I guess, technically. I was given numbers that I never called from ladies I wasn't interested in. But first number that I actually asked for and called, and 3 days later went on a date, and then we've been married for 7 years now, together 11, and that was just right at the beginning of the whole Superman journey for me, and that was she was amazingly supportive and powerful presence in my life for that, and through that whole journey, really going to Sydney, Australia, where we shot the film, and she came out and visited many times, and I ended up proposing while we were on the Superman Returns press tour in 2006 while we were in London, or in England, rather. I proposed at the Tor, which is in Glastonbury on the east of London. Sorry. That'd be west of London. Regardless, it was, I embraced it anyway. It's kind of the answer to your question. And then 2 years ago, we had with Leo, and we were thinking about wanting to have kids for a very long time. And yeah.
So was there, when you say that you wanted to go down that route, or maybe you didn't call any of the girls who gave you your number at the time, because you're quite a strapping fellow, let's face it. How tall are you, Brandon? What are you, 6 foot what?
6'3".
Okay, you're 6'3". Okay.
Yeah.
So why do you think you were like that when you weren't? Why do you feel like you weren't a player, or maybe you didn't take advantage of women who were attracted? I don't mean take advantage of them, but I mean take advantage of the fact that there were opportunities there. Was it the fact that, is it the way that you were brought up? It was nature versus nurture? What do you think it was, Brandon?
Can I say both? Cheat and say both. Certainly, nurture has a lot to do with it. My parents are both, pretty amazing people, and I had a great, loving environment. Not to say that wouldn't produce somebody who would be more of a ladies' man, I guess. But so I came from a small town, and my mom was a teacher, and I was kind of like I actually was a Boy Scout, but I was kind of that stereotypical goody two shoes, mama's boy type situation, and growing up, everybody knew me, and I think when we got into the social years, middle school and high school, I was not invited to parties and social situations because I think people thought I would be a tattletale and tell on people, something like that. So I wasn't exposed to that, and I was not that I wasn't popular, but I wasn't popular. I wasn't unpopular. I was involved in a lot of activities in sports and music and theater in high school, but I honestly didn't have any friends outside of school. I was very much a loner outside of school, reading fantasy novels and playing computer games and building computers. And I worked at Best Buy, and I was pretty much I was very nerdy. So I didn't, the beginning of my social engagement, I was never socially engaged. So I didn't think of myself that way because, I was a kid. I was not, I was a fine looking kid, I guess, but that was never something that was, I didn't know it also. I didn't know that was maybe going to be handsome, or none of that was apparent to me, I guess, because I was a little naive, which is maybe the nature part. And then when I got into college was kind of the first time I really understood that, girls kind of find me attractive, which is then that was part of the push into the whole modeling and acting exploration. And that I already laid the foundation so that when I had, I guess, more people interested in me, that, when I came out to Los Angeles and stuff, it just wasn't, it didn't, it's not that it didn't appeal to me, I guess, but it didn't rule me or just shifted. It was different for me.
And how was Courtney of a similar type of personality, or was she slightly different? Like what was it about her that attracted you in the first place? And how did your different personality styles, end up being a match, if indeed there were different personality styles?
Well, I can't speak for her as far as that respect and her life experience. Although she was not, I would say she was not popular necessarily, but she wasn't unpopular. She wasn't as nerdy as I was, but she was a theater geek and all that kind of stuff and involved a lot of school stuff. But she comes from a different family history than I, and grew up in Los Angeles, which is different than, in Iowa. So similar differences there. And I'd say we are different people in a lot of ways, but we connect on really important things. So while that may, on the surface may seem confusing, how we work, I think, we balance each other in nice ways. And that's part of our journey together has been, how do we continually balance each other and learn from each other and not let our differences push us apart, but bring us together. And really, and I mean, it's cliche to say communication is important, but it is communication for me, not being stubborn. I'm a pretty stubborn person. That may just be a male trait. And so letting go of some of that stubbornness and really listening and really allowing myself to hear her and hear myself, because that's been one of my issues too. Is like, I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. Sometimes I don't let the challenges of life really hit me and the sadness of life hit me. So what communication technique do you and Courtney use effectively? And what have you tried that has proven ineffective? I don't know that we have a technique per se, but I mean, sometimes we'll use the phrase "what I hear you saying" is, and we'll, if it's something really important, we'll repeat back what we think we heard the other person say, because oftentimes what you're getting is not really what they're saying. So then you can have a back and forth. Oh no, this is what I was really saying, or you heard that, but that's not really what it was. So. That may be useful to people. Beyond that, I don't have any other techniques or anything that I would say that we use.
What I hear you saying is, that's good. I'll test that one, Brandon. Thank you.
Yeah.
What I hear you saying is, and so what I'm assuming that does is that it then gives the person who spoke first the opportunity to be able to say, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, or no, it's this.
Have a rebuttal.
That way you move towards the clarification, if you like, or the good, healthy communication a lot quicker, a lot faster.
Yeah, and I'll say one of the other things that we don't apply it as much now, because there aren't so many things that bother us. But when you first move in with somebody or living with somebody, and they have these little quirks, weird things that they do, OCD things or whatever they might be, that you just like, I don't understand why you care about that. It's like there's a better way of saying it, because you can sometimes we let those things like just add up, and we don't say anything, and then finally it's like, why do you care where the dishwashing brush goes for washing the dishes?
Yeah.
Rather than just having it when it comes to you, say, I know that it's very important to you that, or you say, it's very important to me that this be here. I know it seems silly, but I just want you to know that that's why I like to do it this way. Or the other person would say, I see that you do that, and that's very important to you. Can you explain to me why you do this really weird thing that I think is stupid?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, you know.
So you're both father to 2-year-old Leo. So tell me about how fatherhood has maybe changed you, affected you, and how do you and Courtney work together to raise Leo? Like, what specific things do you do? Maybe that other people do differently, or maybe that lots of people do that you've seen has proven effective.
Yeah. Well, communication again is huge. Being on the same team with a child is incredibly important. But I'll come back to that. So as far as how it's changed me, it's really been extremely powerful. I mean, you can't know until you know. It's one of those things. People say your heart grows, and that's true, which sounds crazy, but didn't know that I could love something that much. You know, I love myself and I love my wife and my family, but that's part of you. It's a completely different thing. And the other thing that's been profound is just seeing myself in a new way, because he's a direct reflection of me and my own patterns and good and bad behaviors, my language, how I use language, and because he repeats that back to me. He's a parrot. And so that's been pretty powerful to just see like how I am perceived through his eyes has been really powerful. As far as communication goes, setting up a plan, a lot of people, I would advise anybody out there thinking about having kids, a lot of people will look into the actual process of having the baby, the hospital, the birthing process, which is important, especially for you guys to know, so that you can support your woman through the whole process, and be the best supportive husband you can do, because they've got such the harder job. You have it easy, comparatively. But the next, or maybe even more important, because the doctor can help you through that, is what are you going to do when you bring the baby home? Because nobody gives you any information. You just have this life and you bring it home. And if you haven't set up a plan, then you can start the bad paths can start from the very beginning, the bad patterns, because in that stressful environment, if you don't have a solid plan, it's like, oh, we'll just do this, we'll do whatever. And then you can get, as far as relationship goes, you can start really getting at each other's throats, because there's no stability and structure. So my wife is an amazing researcher, amazingly passionate about that. And she set up this amazing plan for us with Leo. We talked about it. We were on the same team, and we've since kind of given this method to our friends who have had kids, and it's worked, for those that follow it successfully or, to fruition. It's been really helpful in helping them manage all the stresses of having a baby.
Yeah, wonderful. And just before we start to wrap this up, Brandon, I mentioned at the beginning of the call that, you have a specific dietary plan for Leo as well. Now, he's 2 years old. Some people might say, what? You've got a diet for a 2-year-old kid? What the hell's going on here? It seems a little bit crazy. Or maybe some people might say it's so important that you have a dietary plan for a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old or a 3-year-old. So how do you and Courtney look at Leo's nutrition? What does Leo eat? How conscious of it are you? And how do you sort of incorporate good food and good nutrition into his life?
As far as I see it, it's essential that we have a plan. And we have a specific diet for him, because he's growing every day. He's growing. And what does he need to grow? Fuel and building blocks and vitamins and minerals and all those things. It's incredibly crucial for him to have all those things. And part of the reason I switched to this style of eating was because of him. It was my own arthritis and journey with that, but also as we were transitioning from breastfeeding. My wife breastfed for a year and was such an amazing trooper at that. He was eating mushed avocado and sweet potato still until he was a year old, but he was starting to get his teeth and start to eat real solid food. So what were we going to do? And I started getting into some of this research. My friend mentioned bulletproof coffee to me, which is the beginning, the other part of it. I started looking into it, and I was like, you know what? This is important for his survival and growth, that we make sure that he's supported in this way. He already had the best nutrient possible in breast milk, which has colostrum and protein, fat, all these MCTs in there's MCT in breast milk. That's why it's so important for us all to have it too. because we're not getting breast milk. I don't think most people anymore. So he needed to have those building blocks, and so he eats better than we do most of the time. But he has, he has a runny egg pretty much every day. Now we'll put other things with that because it's sometimes hard to get the yolk, something to soak up the yolk, whether it's vegetables or, we do a paleo bread type situation sometimes. We do eat a little bit of white rice, even though that's not paleo. It is more of a bulletproof thing. So he'll have that sometimes, but he eats sardines. He loves sour things, sauerkraut and beets and olives, and he's an amazing palate for a 2-year-old, and will kind of try anything. And he's to my ears, or to my mind, incredibly intelligent. Of course, I'm certainly
biased.
Biased. Thank you. That is the word this gave me. Biased, but his vocabulary, his ability to communicate, and his just physical energy and size is I really attribute to, and his overall health and wellness to this type of eating.
Well, Brandon, thank you so much for giving us an insight into your health and exercise habits, and also for seemingly bringing us into your home and talking about your marriage to Courtney and how you raise Leo. I really do appreciate that. Do you feel like you're living a Superman life? I mean, I know we joke around. You played Superman, obviously, in the 2006 movie, but do you feel like Superman? I mean, in the sense that you've got the tools and the education now to be able to make good choices when it comes to eating, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to your relationship with Courtney and with Leo.
I feel as though I'm becoming Superman every day, working toward becoming a more Superman, more resilient, intelligent, clear, conscious person, better relationships and understanding myself and other people. And that certainly comes through the food that I eat. And I would say that we all have, my kind of speech about man is that that's what we're all meant to be. I think we have that ability to become like that, minus the real flying superpowers, though who knows, if we unlock our brains, who knows what we can do. But it's all that pursuit of greatness, of being actually bulletproof, not actually bulletproof, but bulletproofing yourself in a way that you are resilient and that you're upgraded and as powerful as you can be. I mean, why aim for less?
Great words there from Brandon Routh. Make sure you follow Brandon at his Twitter account, which is at Brandon J. Routh. Send a tweet right now to at James Swanwick and at Brandon J. Routh. Just let Brandon know what you enjoyed about this interview. What are you going to be picking up now from Superman? What are you going to be doing? How are you going to be changing your dietary and exercise habits? How are you going to be a better man, a better woman? How are you going to live a Superman life? Brandon Routh, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and for sharing your story, mate. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thanks, James. It's been a good time.
Yeah, and I hope to see you. Hope you see you again very soon, and up in another Hollywood Hills party. We live the life, don't we? We're hanging out in the Hollywood Hills, and
not a bad view.
Brandon, no worries, mate. Well, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, James.
Hi there, this is James Swanwick. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I would be so grateful if you would leave a review. That will help us climb the rankings and get our show exposed to so many more people who could really benefit from the content. You can do that by going into Apple Podcasts, rating the show, writing a little 1-sentence summary, and posting it. That would be so amazing. Thank you. Likewise, if you would like to schedule a 15-minute exploratory call and apply for our Project 90 program, then you can do so by going to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90. If you'd like to get the free guide, that is the Alcohol Freedom Formula Guide, you can go to alcoholfreelifestyle.com/guide. Our YouTube channel is at alcoholfreelifestyle.com/YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at James Swanwick. Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next one.